Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
Clint Eastwood discloses who he is at the age of 94, doesn't desire his burial. Clinton is the birthplace of Clint Eastwood, Eastwood Jr., in San Francisco on May 31, 1930. California's Francisco is a legendary American film star, whose career covers more than 70 years. Born during Eastwood was raised during the Great Depression, in a little home, constantly shifting because his father works as a steel employee. These early life events helped shape his tough independence and diligence, qualities that would eventually become characteristics that define him persona on film and individual philosophy. Following graduation from high school, he attended Oakland School, worked at a number of occupations, including gas, lifeguards, and lumberjack station worker, prior to being drafted into the Korean War-era U.S. Army. His military service not only helped him become his self-control, but also presented him to the film industry as he started, hanging around with budding filmmakers and performers while assigned to Fortor Eastwood's Hollywood debut was coincidental but distinguished by persistence. He started acting in the 1950s with little, frequently unattributed parts in films about bees. His innovation occurred when he was cast in the late 1950s as Rowdy Yates in the well-known TV Rawhide in the West. However, at first regarded as a supporting figure, Eastwood's austere demeanor and charisma made him a fan favorite very fast. This visibility made it possible for him to ascend to fame on a global scale in the 1960s, especially through his enduring roles in The Dollars trilogy by Sergio Leone, A. 1964's Fistful of Dollars, For a Few More Dollars, 1965, and The Product, The Negative, and The Unsightly, 1966. These spaghetti westerns transformed the western genre and presented the trademark of Eastwood morality, the straightforward and unclear anti-hero with a sharp glare and little conversation. As Eastwood's acting career took off, she became associated with tough masculinity, frontier justice, and stoic fortitude. He cemented his position in the 1970s as a symbol of culture by depicting Filthy Harry Callahan, an unyielding, tough San Francisco police officer who came to represent American perseverance and law enforcement throughout a period of social change. The movie, the 1971 film Dirty Harry and its follow-up, captivated the interest of the public, integrating social critique, action, and the gritty intensity of Eastwood. These positions demonstrated not just his talent at acting, but also his comprehension of the zeitgeist, attracting viewers disenchanted with bureaucracy and growing criminal activity. But Eastwood was not satisfied, must stay by themselves in front of the camera. He transitioned successfully to starting with the direction of Play Misty for Me in a psychological thriller from 1971 that displayed his brilliant storytelling abilities and creative vision. Above the Eastwood established a reputation over decades. Is a brilliant producer and director, commended for his frugal shooting style, self-control, and aptitude to extract stirring performances from his actors. He starred in and directed a number of highly regarded films, like in 1992's Unforgiven, which earned the Best Director Academy Award and Greatest Image, solidifying his position among the enormous aura of contemporary film. Unforgiven provided a critical perspective on the Western genre, contesting the mythology that Eastwood had aided construct and unveiling a more contemplative, morally intricate story. The spectrum of directors is impressive, ranging from heartbreaking dramas such as $1 Million Baby in 2004. He received his second pair of the Oscars for biographical and historical movies like Letters from Iwo 2006, American Sniper, Gran Torino, 2008 Richard Jewell in 2014 and in 2019. Eastwood has continuously investigated themes of identity, redemption, and heroism, and the experience of Americans. His capacity to address stories that are profoundly human he has gained respect and nuance. Praise from viewers and reviewers similar. In contrast to many celebrities, Eastwood has remained in charge of the creative process over his endeavors, frequently collaborating with tight shooting and tight budgets routines, garnering recognition for his professionalism, effectiveness, and integrity of art. Past his, Clint Eastwood's contributions to cinema has had a varied life, which includes stints as a businessman, composer, and politician. An enthusiastic fan of jazz, he has created the soundtrack for a number of his flicks and supported jazz performers all through his professional life. He served from 1986 to 1988 as Carmel by the Sea's Mayor, California, demonstrating his enthusiasm for local government and civic involvement. In the corporate world, he has participated in actual restaurants, real estate, and a prosperous Malpaso production company productions, the company that created the most of his films since the 1970s. December 19th, Clint Eastwood began his career in 1953. First union with Margaret Neville, Maggie Johnson is a secretary and model. He met her on a blind date set up by companions. Eastwood, at the time, was still a budding actress with limited acting experience. His name. Additionally, their union signified the start of a decades-long partnership that would include both Eastwood's ascent to global renown and a lot of personal peaks and valleys. Their marriage endured many hardships, encompassing Eastwood's protracted absences throughout filming and his romantic reputation relationships outside of marriage. Maggie, however, stayed with Eastwood during the crucial early years in which he performed. Such Ash's breakthrough performance in the TV Rawhides series and his latter achievement with Dollars by Sergio Leone Spaghetti Western trilogy in the 1960s. Eastwood and Maggie together had 2 kids. The boy they had, Kyle Eastwood, was born in 1968 and later becoming a well-known jazz performer and composer, providing music for a number of his dad's films. Their daughter, Allison Eastwood, was born in 1972, carrying on her father's legacy into the field of entertainment, pursuing careers as a filmmaker, actress, and model for fashion. Allison made an appearance in a number of Clint's flicks, including Midnight in the Night, Tightrope, and 1984 The Garden of Good and Evil 1997, and she went on to helm the film. The movie Rails and Ties 2007. In spite of their common past and Eastwood and Johnson's kids, the marriage grew more tense, allegedly as a result of his extramarital relationships and an increasing emotional detachment between the two. Following years of separation and conjecture, they officially separated in 1984. The separation settlement was noteworthy, indicating the increasing riches and prestige of Eastwood by 1984. At that moment, Johnson is said to have received $25 million to $30 million, which garnered media attention as one of some of Hollywood's largest settlements back then. After several years, Eastwood been married again. Now is the moment to Dana Ruiz, a news anchor on television more than 30 years his junior. The first two encountered in 1993 when Ruiz was given the task of speak with Eastwood for a piece on Unforgiven, the highly regarded. He received Academy Awards for his Western, both the greatest film and the finest director. Their upcoming professional meeting evolved into a personal connection. And on March 31st, the pair was married. 96 during a confidential ceremony at the property owned by Clint in Carmel by the Sea, California, in which he had additionally worked as mayor throughout the 1980s. In the same year, Ruiz and Eastwood welcomed a daughter. December 1996 saw the birth of Morgan Eastwood. In contrast to a few of Eastwood's other, Morgan has mostly avoided children out of the spotlight, despite the fact that she made sporadic appearances with her parents, including those on the E! show. In 2012 display, the Mrs. Eastwood and Company highlighted Dina's life and included her family members. In order to project a cohesive public image, the marriage failed, and in August 2013, Ruiz made it known that the pair had been living apart for a while. The divorce was finalized. 2014 saw the conclusion of Eastwood's second official union. During his Clint Eastwood has a reputation for not only for his well-known movie roles and accomplishments in directing, but also for his complicated private life, especially his children and relationships. In addition to Morgan, Allison, and Kyle, it is known that Eastwood fathered at least 5 additional kids with different women, even if he's never openly verified the total number of his children. Kimberlyn is one of them. Born in 1964, Eastwood came from a previous connection to Roxanne Tunis, a dancer, and 1986-born Scott Eastwood, who's established a prosperous acting career of his own and looks a lot like his dad, both in terms of appearance and presence on screen. Other known children of Eastwood include Francesca Eastwood, Catherine Reeves, and as well as Laurie Murray, the latter being taken in by a different family and only thereafter. She got back in touch with her birth father. Despite possessing a sizable and occasionally complex family relationship, Eastwood has mostly avoided going into much detail in their speech regarding his private connections or kids in public, choosing instead to preserve a certain amount of privacy. However, his numerous children have seen on occasion during gatherings with him, implying continued partnerships with a number of them. The enigma about the precise amount of children, as well as the chronology of his connections, has only increased Eastwood's mysterious public persona, enhancing his reputation as a private individual, even off-screen, comprising a few sentences. Clint Eastwood discloses who he is at the age of 94, refuses to attend his funeral. Presently a tall, 94-year-old renowned actor, and Clint Eastwood, the director, has invested more than 70 years creating one of the Hollywood's most formidable careers past. Since his earliest years as a simple rancher on Rawhide to his famous parts in Spaghetti by Sergio Leone westerns and his subsequent rebirth as a master filmmaker who has produced films such $1 Million Baby, Unforgiven, and Eastwood's Grand Torino, has developed into emblem of tough masculinity, independence, and traditional beliefs. As he is nearing the end of his life, Eastwood has grown more, considering his legacy, his convictions, the individuals he desires, and refuses to pay tribute to him when he's gone. In a direct exchange, Eastwood claimed to have shared an unexpected list of individuals he hopes won't be at his burial as a result of years of ideological disagreements, private complaints, or intense philosophical distinctions. One of them, he brought up Leonardo and John Wayne, Spike Lee, Tom Hanks, DiCaprio, and Michael Sandry, and more secure, John Wayne. However, Eastwood and Wayne are influential people in American film, in the Western genre in particular. The relationship was infamously tense. According to reports, Wayne didn't like the morally inconsistent characteristics Eastwood frequently depicted, especially in films like Wayne believed that the High Plains drifter tarnished the American nobility cowboy. At one point, Eastwood sent Wayne a script in the hopes of working together, but Wayne rejected it, claiming that the movie was perverse and failed to demonstrate the bravery should, in his opinion, characterize the Western. Despite being considerate of Wayne's, felt that the Duke was out of touch with legacy with the more intricate and practical tales he wished to share. However, Wayne Eastwood passed away in 1979, reportedly having stated that if Wayne could somehow to attend his funeral, he would rather he remained distant, signifying the ideological divide that exists between them to the finish. Leonardo DiCaprio. Although both guys have collaborated alongside Martin Scorsese, they are Oscar-winning titans in their own right. According to reports, Clint Eastwood discovers DiCaprio's vocal support for climate change and assessing political positions. Eastwood, who has been a libertarian for a long time, with a conservative outlook, after denounced the elites of Hollywood for being excessively fixated and politically correct by virtue signaling. DiCaprio. well known for his well-known environmental remarks before the UN, as well as his critics refer to private jet travel as hypocritical, which to Eastwood symbolizes that he's developed a certain Hollywood hypocrisy. Becoming tired of. Even though directing in the 2011 film J. Edgar, DiCaprio plays Eastwood. Thought to see him as representative of a Hollywood's younger generation no longer understands or respects. Tom Hanks, one of the most adored actors in America. Tom Hanks is frequently seen as a good and all-American character, but Eastwood and Hanks, even though they collaborated on. According to reports, Sully 2016 has very distinct perspectives on the world. Eastwood is well known, with his tough-minded demeanor and his inclination for quick and minimal take-shooting plans, but Hanks is renowned for being thorough and cooperative. In terms of politics, Hanks is an outspoken Democrat who has backed politicians and causes Eastwood has criticized. But more than politics, perhaps Eastwood sensed that Hanks' public perception as the father of America doesn't complement his own gritty, more doubtful perception of American culture and establishments. When Hanks attended his funeral, he claimed to have said would feel out of inharmony with the harsh realities of his life, he took the lead, Lee Spike. No affection is lost. Between Spike Lee, the director, and Eastwood, who in 2008 openly chastised Eastwood Flags of Our Fathers, one of his war films, and Iwima's letters, accusing him of excluding black soldiers from World War II depictions. By Eastwood retaliated, saying that historical those castings had been determined by accuracy. Decisions, and said Lee had stopped talking, instead of stirring needlessly dispute. The argument escalated up and garnered media coverage, becoming a rare public conflict involving two senior directors. Eastwood, who appreciates authority and dislikes being questioned, claims to view Lee as a contentious figure, whose existence would signify a type of Eastwood's performative activism lack of patience. Michael Moore may be the most dependable addition to Eastwood's fictitious Eastwood. Michael Moore and the no-show list had previously had direct conflicts. Moore criticized Eastwood's work in 2005. U.S. Sniper for promoting violence and encouraging a jingoistic perspective on conflict. In response, Eastwood once stated that if Moore ever approached him while carrying a camera, he would murder him. A quote that he later asserted was said in a fair manner, yet one that demonstrated the depth of their hostility. Moore's brazen documentary-style filmmaking, in addition to his intense anti-war and anti-gun positions, stands in stark contrast to Eastwood's Second Amendment rights for U.S. soldiers' rights as well as individualistic principles. The notion that Moore would offer eulogies or at his funeral, Eastwood is receiving tributes, allegedly stated, would be the ultimate irony. Lockock, Sandry, the most. The list's emotionally charged name is, without a doubt, Sandra Lockock, Eastwood's past romantic partner and regular co-star. The two had a very complex 14-year partnership that concluded in an acrimonious and public court case conflict. Locke charged Eastwood with career sabotage and mental abuse, bringing many lawsuits against him that continued for years, although Eastwood's out-of-court settlement ended the conflict. Never recovered between them. However, Locke died in 2018, and Eastwood has claimed that in the event that there were any method by which ghosts can haunt the living, I hope Lockock doesn't hover about his last rites. Her existence. He thought it would raise too many repressed feelings and would be a reminder of a difficult period in his. He would rather be buried. In the Clint, Eastwood stays as ferocious, as self-reliant and unrepentant as ever. As he is nearing the end of a lengthy and illustrious life, his legacy-related thoughts, integrity, and loyalty are still driven by the same ideas that created. He is a star in Hollywood. His speculative it appears that a funeral would be more than merely a honoring a profession, but also a last action of establishing distinct boundaries between individuals he held in high regard and those he not at all. Clint Eastwood has had a profound commitment to exercise and wellness since his adolescence, developing a disciplined way of living that would continue a characteristic that has defined his lengthy and a prosperous career. Even in his Eastwood was well known as a young man for his remarkable level of physical fitness, supporting consistent exercise and wholesome dietary patterns that predate such programs became popular in Hollywood. His dedication to well-being struck out as unlike the usual hard partying image, linked to numerous up-and-coming actors of his generation. Late in the 1950s and early 1960s, when playing the lead role of Rowdy Yates on the popular Western television show, Eastwood's powerful body, rawhide and tidy look won him significant attention, not only from fitness enthusiasts as well as fans and medical journals. His physique turned into something that the public was interested in, and he was regularly published in magazines and publications that addressed health and individual health. One such characteristic showed up in TV's August 1959 edition. Eastwood was prominent in the guide, captured on camera doing push-ups, demonstrating his athletic prowess and the daily self-control that drove it. In addition to the pictures, Eastwood offered useful workout tips that are based in his own routine. He urged readers to accept a natural balanced diet, stressing the significance of eating a lot of fresh uncooked veggies and fruit. Additionally, he was a strong advocate for taking vitamins to enhance dietary intake, and suggested that people avoid too much sugar, especially sugary drinks such as Coke, which he thought helped cause energy crashes and chronic health issues. Furthermore, Eastwood cautioned against the excessive intake of carbs and discouraged drinking alcohol on a regular basis, particularly in big amounts. His emphasized moderation, health prevention, functional fitness also hinted at the decades ahead of the current wellness movement of its widespread approval. Eastwood's a health-conscious attitude grew even more determined after a very personal tragedy, the untimely passing of his Clinton Eastwood Sr., his father, from a heart attack at age 64 in 1970. Eastwood's description of the incident Fritz, a longtime friend and partner, the one negative thing that ever occurred to him during his lifetime. Eastwood was taken aback by this unexpected loss. Core, particularly given that his father's grandfather was well into his 90s. The difference between his dad's early death and the longevity of his grandfather left a lasting effect on him. It's not only strengthened Eastwood's resolve to living a healthy lifestyle, but also appeared to initiate a change in his career perspective. From then on, Eastwood's motivation has increased and diligent, tackling his film initiatives with more urgency and accuracy. He became known for shooting swiftly and effectively, frequently completing productions far in advance of on time and within budget. His on-set discipline reflected the constancy of his own routines, representing a man who is committed to maximizing his vitality and his time. It's interesting that even though he abstained to avoid heavy booze and staying away from binge drinking, Eastwood showed a respect for societal areas and society by co-establishing the bar Hog's Breath Inn is situated in the charming seaside community of Carmel by California's sea in 1971. The facility was created using all-whole rustic English-style atmosphere featuring internal wood paneling and a comfortable, calm environment. It soon turned into a tourists patronize this local favorite, and locals alike, and served as evidence of Eastwood's business acumen, passion, and fondness for the Carmel community. However, he decided not to consume a lot of booze. Eastwood recognized the importance of establishing a friendly atmosphere where others could relax and mingle.